Good day. Welcome. I'm Rich Gruber. This is Newsmakers. This is a weekly public affairs program where we bring in people from around the community who are making the headlines, or folks who are behind the scenes really generating the news that's important to you and all that we do across the region. I want to welcome into the studio Jeremy Bilhorn.
Hello.
He is the principal at Milton High School. Jeremy, great to have you aboard.
Thanks for having me, Rich.
It's a nice opportunity to get brought up to speed with things happening at Milton High School in general, but I want to focus in particular on a new program that you are collaborating with, of all things, the Rock County Civics Academy.
Absolutely.
Give me an outline. Give me an overview.
So thanks, Rich. Thanks for having me today. You know, I was approached by folks from the Academy, Kim Earhart and yourself, about a program on how to it's really build leaders within the community, and so we have been working on the Rock County Civics Practicum, which will be a program we're going to pilot with Milton High School this next year. We will have a few Milton High School seniors that will participate, and the general concept is that we're going to have students. These students are going to be a couple phases to it. They're going to be out in the Rock County area, and whether it's at the Rock County, at the township government level, at a school board, they're going to be doing a job shadow or an internship. We're on the trimester schedule, so they'll spend first and second try each at a different location. We're going to try to pair students up with some of their interests, and it's more than just a job shadow. They're working on a project. They're going to get to learn about how government works, and then they're going to work on a project with them. And the idea, another aspect of this, is that we'll be pulling these students in periodically throughout the trimester to have seminar days to talk about their experiences, and also the overall goal here is to, when you take a look at students and you look at government, how do we get students? Oftentimes they think about the national level. That's what we see on the news, right? It's how to get students involved at things that are much closer to home, things that probably impact them even more so. They're going to, so these students are going to be taking their experiences. They're also going to be coming in, and we're going to be working on these. Their mentors and the students are coming on seminar days, and then these days they will learn more about how government works, having discussions with local leaders, have a keynote speaker, have leadership conversations about training and how to become a leader, and then all this leading up into a kind of a overall passion project they'll be working on the last part of the year. So I gave you an overview of the whole project right there.
When you start thinking about this particular program, it fills a gap in the curriculum, and I think one of the impetus behind the Civics Academy moving forward with the idea and working with Milton High School is the fact that we really, in education, have lost our focus, my opinion, on matters such as civics education, ethics training, and how to work in the arena of constructive civil discourse.
Well, I would say, we're proud of the civics classes that we have, and they're a great overview, and our staff do a great job of talking about how government works. But there's another element here that I think you're referring to, and it's something that we as educators, we have seen the last few years. And you got to remember, I'm an old social studies teacher. So I before I was principal, I was a social studies teacher at Milton High School, and it's something I talk with the department quite a bit about, and that is, when you talk about civil discourse, there's sometimes a greater fear sometimes to discuss I'll also use the term controversial issues, but bringing up items and topics that before we would have, the idea is there are different viewpoints. How do we come together to discuss these different viewpoints without making the other side upset, and actually training kids to have a disagreement without becoming, personal. And sometimes there's a fear even in schools to address that because of fear of what responses might be outside.
Sure. And there's a certain sensitivity to certain topics that become
certainly
less than politically correct to have a conversation about X, Y, or Z. I have to go back to long ago when I was a youngster. I was blessed to have a neighbor who kind of took me under his wing for a period of time. Fortunately, he happened to be the elected county auditor in my home county. And from the time I was 10 years old, he would take me to the courthouse, introduce me to the leadership in the courthouse, the Board of Supervisors, the sheriff, the treasurer, and so on, and actively expose me to how decisions were made. And it really left an impression that I've carried for a lifetime about the importance of local government in the grand scheme of things. Local government is that arena where it has the greatest impact in the most ways on each of us. John and Joan Q. Citizen, it has more impact than what happens nationally, internationally.
I would agree. I would agree.
And we know so little about it.
We do, and it's harder. We can go and explain what a mayor does and what a town board does, but an experience like we're trying to put forth for these students is really getting in to see how it works. I would agree. A few years ago, I attend Fulton Church, and we were doing an addition. So I was on a building committee, and even me, and at that time I'm in my early 40s, right? And I'm going through, and I learned a lot more about the process to get variances and whatnot. Working with town boards and working with the county, it was fascinating. And part of that I began to realize too that these are things our students just don't know, and so part of the impetus behind this is actually you had shared that story, and it's the way how can we have students learn from community mentors, not just about how government works, but how to work with other people, because at the end of the day we're neighbors. We both live in Rock County, right? And government's supposed to be there to help create our community. And we might have a different solution to a problem that presents the community, but it doesn't mean that we have to be at odds with each other. And ultimately, local government is learning to work through problems together, and how to live together. And I, it saddens me. I look at the national scale, and I see the rhetoric that is out there, and I see these wonderful kids that are walking through our hallway, and I know that at times I think they can do better. So the idea behind this too is how do we inspire kids to learn about local government, be mentored by people who are doing things well, but also to become involved and to do it in a way that is that respects each other, and that we are learning to live together.
The curriculum that we put together really hones in on a couple of things. One, it has a great focus on getting to understand the mechanics of how decisions are made in individual units of local government, and how those decisions translate into something that interacts with John and Joan Q. Citizen on a daily basis. And second, it focuses on the idea of what I like to call deliberative democracy, the power of getting people in a room on the same agenda with the same information, being able to find problem-solving abilities that don't happen in any other arena. And they do it because they're there for the singular purpose of serving their community.
Correct. Yeah, it's learning. It's the old John Dewey. It's learning by doing, right? And we want students to be able to see how that happens. It's understand. I echo what you're saying. It's helping kids understand. No, not just where power structures are, but how decisions are made. What goes behind a community action, whether it's building a new building or developments. We could look at various aspects of government, but what are the processes that go behind that? And beyond that too is understanding the needs people have. I think one of the things that is drawn me to this project is having kids understand what are all the different. We could use the stakeholders or all the sub-publics that are out there. What are their values? What do you bring to the table that's important to you? What does this next person bring to the table that's important to them? Because we have to understand what's important to each other as we come up with a solution. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of ignoring what other people bring to the table these days. And part of this is in training with local government and local issues is how to again, work with others.
Mm-hmm. It's how to work with others in a constructive way, and we want to teach the young people that we don't necessarily live in a partisan environment.
Correct.
In all things that we do.
Why not?
I teasingly tell people that in my travels I've yet to run into a Republican pothole or a Democratic broken water main.
Absolutely.
And those are the things that in our local communities, they make a difference to you on a day in and day out basis.
Absolutely.
And somebody is behind the scenes making the decisions necessary to make sure that pothole gets filled.
Yes.
And the water main actually gets repaired.
Right.
And it's not done in a partisan world.
Right. And if we have a different solution on how to fill that pothole,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you and I might have a different way to do it. How do we work together to figure out still how it gets done? Mm-hmm. And be able to still work with each other to address the next solution or next issue that's down the road. So.
Part of the impetus as well is to help people understand a little bit better how decisions that are made at this level have a much broader impact than just filling that pothole,
right.
or just plugging that leak in the water line. We're planning a future for a community. We're deciding where we're going to invest money in our infrastructure, what tomorrow's subdivisions are going to look like, where we're going to have retail, where we're going to have recreational opportunities, where are we going to have schools.
Right.
Those are the decisions that, in the big picture, in the grand scheme of things, we don't really think about very often.
They don't, and I'll tell you, the average 18-year-old's not thinking about that either, too. You know, and as we, you know, and every generation has done this. And education is we're supposed to fulfill the need of the future, right? Too, whether that's in occupations and skills and whatnot. But this is an area, and in our social studies department at the high school, we talk about this a lot too. It's not just about the what we're teaching, but it's the approach people take. You know, one of the things with this project that it kind of intrigues me the most too about the future too, about this too, is so Milton High School students are going to be starting with this, and we might be looking at some other students to draw into it.
Yeah.
My hope in the future is that as we perhaps maybe draw more schools into it, is that you have a cohort of 18-year-olds maybe from a variety of Rock County schools. If we do this year after year after year, we're developing a new network, a new generation network of students that have the same mindset. I think about how we serve the community and how we serve our future, which ultimately our schools are supposed to serve our future. The power that comes along with that, of mentors training these kids, working with these kids, working on projects together with these kids, and students starting to network with each other, I think is going to have a profound impact on the future too.
We need to continue to focus on the reality that the students that we are putting through our educational system today are our leaders tomorrow.
Absolutely.
And if we don't prepare them to lead, the void is going to be a tragedy that affects all of us across society. You
know, it's true. I think, and educators, I mean, for every generation, the change that has happened over the years, there's always a fear about what's coming up next. And I'll be honest, I'm very hopeful for the futures too. I work with these kids, and I work with the educators and lead these educators that work with these kids. There's concerns with leadership today. I am hopeful with programs like what we're working together and what schools are doing now. You know, students, they aren't looking to become necessarily partisan inherently. They learn that.
Well, and the fact of the matter is, the leadership skills we impart upon our students today are going to be used in the arena we call community.
Absolutely.
So very, very soon.
Absolutely.
Jeremy Bilhorn, always a pleasure. As this project progresses, I'll have you back and we'll do some updates for our community. Thank you so much for your time.
I'm looking forward to doing it. Thanks, Rich.
Yep. Another Newsmakers, and stay tuned because we bring in people who make the news on a regular basis so that you've got a better understanding of what's happening in your community. Remember, it's simple. It is your community. Thanks.